This video contains gratuitous use of profanity and uncomfortable pauses to compensate for lack of professionalism and original thought. Viewer discretion advised.
Live from Dr. Light's laboratory, the Nerdy Manroom Show with your host, Hassel and Monster. Monster, take it away.
We unfortunately had to miss last week due to me being out for work travel, but fortunately it wasn't too big of a news week, so I know we've got some news to go, but nothing really earth-shattering other than a few updates. But I know you had a chance to watch AEW. Was it Full Gear? Was the pay-per-view title of this last one? And so how was that? Any main takeaways and review, high-level review from that?
Well, after 2 years of the company being kind of built around Adam Page, he finally got his cowboy shit on, and he finally won the world title. And pretty good match with him and Kenny Omega. They had about a 4-star match, and which is there hadn't been no problems with their matches throughout, but for whatever reason, Adam Page was one of the ones that they kind of announced first as you're going to build this company around this man, and then every time he gets to the big dance, they took it out from under him, so to speak. So to see him finally get that, that was actually a pretty cool moment. CM Punk and oh man, I forget
Eddie Kingston.
Eddie Kingston. There you go. Thank you. Eddie Kingston had a brutal match, very brutal match, and Jim Cornette went as far as to say that Kingston got the stone cold rub come the end of it. They both bled. Towards the end of it, CM Punk emerged victorious, of course, and Kingston afterwards wouldn't shake the hand, pretty much gave him the fuck you and left the ring. The rest of the pay-per-view was kind of I was a little disappointed that FTR lost to the Lucha Brothers, which I like the Lucha Brothers, but I just really huge on FTR myself with Tully. That's a good little thing. The Super Click lost to Jurassic Express and Christian Cage. All in all, it was a pretty good pay-per-view. It had a good vibe to it, a good mix. They didn't just flood you out like Vince, and it was all one-sided and one thing, one way or the other, so to speak. So it was a good little pay-per-view.
Yeah, I heard good things about it. A couple. The only negatives I heard is, and I don't even know if it was on the pay-per-view or if it was on this week's episodes, but Cody Rhodes refuses to be a heel, and he has the best heel heat in the business, and he just refuses to do it.
The shit out of him. Him and his partner beat Malachi Black and Andrade. A pretty good match. But yeah, they're booing him out of the fucking building. Nobody like him. And Malachi Black, as bad as he's being, villainous wise, he's getting some of the biggest pops of the night. And I glossed over Dr. Britt Baker. She emerged victorious. She's become like my favorite female wrestler because she don't mind, she'll bleed when she has to bleed. I mean, she gets in there and she throws them down. I mean, I dig her, man. She's I'll put her in there with Charlotte any day of the week or Becky Lynch.
I've heard good things about her. I think the only negative that's really been a negative for AEW total wise for a lot of their pay-per-views, or at least from what I'm hearing, is they don't understand the timestamp. They run everything extremely long, and there's fatigue by the time you're at the end of the 4 hours into it. You're like, okay, we're not even at the main event yet.
Well,
it's a little.
Still hasn't done them any favors. And he's made pay-per-view freeze for the last, 5-6 years now?
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to drop 50 bones on a pay-per-view anymore. I mean, people still do it for UFC, a huge boxing match, a Canelo match or something of this nature. But wrestling, the days of spending 50. It's $50 now. It's not even the $29.99 it used to be. It's $50. It's kind of hard to bring yourself to say, you know what, I want to watch this is bad enough to pay this instead of going, we'll wait till Wednesday and get the results.
Yeah, I can understand that. And again, that's kind of how I've been. I'm like, I'm not watching it, but at the same time, even for me, a 3-hour show for any night of the week is like too much. I'm watching the hour and a half version of any of them.
Yeah. Well, I think that's why I like Dynamite so much, because it's 2 hours. It's all you need. And that's why SmackDown is superior to Raw to me, because it's 2 hours. You do not need that third hour. I mean, years ago, an occasional third hour show, it had a little something extra to it. I mean, that's what made the pay-per-view special, and that's why now the pay-per-view, it just feels like, another episode of Raw. And like Survivor Series is this Sunday. And of course, next week we're going to touch on Survivor Series stuff. But, I mean, there's really no real build or, you know what I'm saying? You're not invested one way or another.
No. But since we're talking about reviews, I invested some time myself and went and watched Eternals last weekend when it came out, and or the weekend before last, I guess. And pretty good movie. Spoiler-free review. We're not going to delve into it too far. I will say, out of my grading scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the best, I gave it about a 6.75. I just couldn't make it to a 7. I do think it was better.
People have.
I will say it was better than Black Widow or Venom 2, and it sets up a lot of really good things to come from Marvel stuff, but there was some twist in it to me that made it not quite as entertaining as I would have liked. I mean, they changed some of the characterizations a little too much and changed some of the plot a little too much for me. Even though I'm not really an Eternals fan, it was just, it was.
Did you feel like it was a bridge
too far
movie
out
to you? Like they were just trying to bridge into Phase 4?
Yeah,
that's what we're bridging into right now, right? For Phase 4.
Yes, I got that more out of it than I did like out of Shang-Chi. Black Widow was a prequel, really, but Shang-Chi was the next in line to be an Avenger or whatever, as far as that goes. But Eternals just felt like, okay, we've got to tell this story so the next thing we're doing makes sense. But Shang-Chi could have stood on its own regardless, because I thought it was a much more entertaining movie. Now, I will say that there's a couple of after scenes. Stay for all of those. One at the very end of the credits. Both of those were very important, make a big difference for things to come. But
oh, really?
Yeah, visually though, I have to give that movie, close to a 9 or a 10 on the visual aspects of it. I mean, everything looked great. They told the movie throughout different periods of time, because it is Eternals and they're alive at different periods of time. Obviously, they're mortal, but when they showed different time periods, everything felt like it fit into the time period, even though some things were a little modernized beyond what they should have been. But that's because, this race of Eternals is, far beyond human comprehension, right? So they're giving people stuff, but they're also not taking it too far. Like, they're not giving them technology that they shouldn't have. They're just trying to help them build. Okay, you see that at some points in the movie. Like, okay,
we could just stick here. Yeah. They're like, hey, do something.
We could give you this, and everybody's like, we can't give them that. I was like, well, how about a plow? Here's a plow. Yeah, that kind of thing. But it was really good. The story wasn't bad. It just, I don't know, it was missing something for me to be any higher score. Now, I will say, you're concerned with the Celestials. How they looked. The one you're seeing that looks anorexic to you, that's actually a statue that they're praying to.
Okay, well, so that's fine with me. Cause
when the actual Celestials show up, they are earth-shatteringly larger than the Earth. You see them from. You never see the full body of one because they are so large. I mean, but it's, for lack of a spoil. This is mostly spoiler-free. But when you see one in the outer space, you can see parts of their eyes and their head looking at the Earth. And then when you go out in space, you can actually see the full head, but you can't see their whole body.
I want my Kirby level Celestial. So that's what I want.
It was Kirby-esque. It was Kirby-esque, and you'll see that when you watch it.
Really, there's hints that they're leading into Galactus.
They could easily do a Galactus based on what they did here. In the end scenes, they show there's more to come with it. And more to come outside of just that with the Marvel Universe.
And I'll give Marvel Studios my hats off, because they took a very unknown property. Because, I mean, other than your diehard Marvel fans or your Kirbyers, very few people really know anything about that property. So to have been ballsy enough to take that property and say, you know what, this is what we're going with. That's, hey, hats off. I'll give them credit for, having the balls to do it.
Yeah, and it was an entertaining movie. It is not one that if it wasn't a Marvel movie, I wouldn't have wasted my money in the theater for. I'd have just waited for it to come on streaming and watched it. But it was enjoyable. It was enjoyable. And speaking of movies, and while we're on the subject, this weekend Ghostbusters Afterlife comes out. I do already have tickets for that. The kid wanted to really go see it. We've really been invested in Ghostbusters. We've enjoyed all of them except for the last one that was made. But well, he enjoyed it more than I did. And I won't say much more about that. But there are some other movie news though. There's a couple of delays from Paramount. Transformers: Rise of the Beast was supposed to be out in June of next year, June 2022. They pushed it back to June 2023.
That is scary. When you push a movie back an entire year, it's no bueno.
Now, I understood it when it happened in the middle of the pandemic, but the pandemic's kind of been winding down. The theaters are back open, and this moved out a whole year. And not only did this move out a year, but it knocked Star Trek 4, which had just started production, out from June of 2023 to December of 2020. So it lost 6 months just because of this move.
Well, during the pandemic, you get it for two reasons. One, I imagine reshoots are a bitch to do, trying to get everybody cleared through COVID protocol and whatnot. And two, they're wanting to wait the theaters out and see if they come back, because it's a lot more profitable, I'm sure, for a studio to have a movie bust, $300 million in a weekend, or, for a big blockbuster, versus, well, they made $98 million and they streamed on, you know what I'm saying? I mean, because more people are more out to, I guess, have streaming parties, so to speak.
It's hard to leave the house a lot of times. I travel for work when I'm not when I'm home. I work from this home office, and next week you guys will get to see an update because it will be turning into more of a studio office, and you'll get to see some before and after pictures after everything shows up. But when I'm at home, I don't like to leave, and then when I travel, I'm gone, and it's like, okay, I'm out everywhere, and I look around, and I go to a restaurant to eat, and there's like 5 people in there. Usually before I'd have to wait 45 minutes. And now it's just walk in and get what you need.
Well, South Georgia is still pretty packed. We were morons, and we never really adhered to the rules, so to speak. You were lucky if people wore masks. But I will say I haven't been to a theater. I honestly can't tell you the last thing. I would probably venture to say the last thing I went to the theater to see was the 2018 Halloween. It's been a fat little minute for me since so. I was actually pretty excited. I was going to see Halloween Kills in theaters right up until they said, hey, you can stream it. And as soon as they said that, stay home, buddy.
Yeah, I can understand that.
I can, versus 2 tickets, snacks, $50, sit your ass at home, drink all the liquor you want, free. I mean,
yeah, and it's hard to beat streaming. And since we're talking about that, this past week, the Disney Plus, they had a massive showing of multiple things going on for them, a lot of the behind the scenes stuff. I didn't pick up on everything. I'll be honest, I was at work and missed a few of it, but I did see the Obi-Wan, not really a trailer, more of a behind the scenes look at it. Looks really good. Looks like we're going to get some more Obi-Wan versus Darth Vader action. Hopefully that'll be interesting.
I'm hoping they're not misleading us with that, but because they've pretty much said it is almost a rematch, so to speak, or they mixed it up again. It was McGregor's words. So yeah, I'm hoping it's not a misleading type thing where it's a vision or astral plane deal or.
So on that, I did not catch a date. Is that 2022 or is that when 2023 release?
It is 2022, but they haven't said when in 2022.
Okay. Yeah,
I'm assuming it's going to probably be next summer is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, they've got a lot of stuff slated. I tried to catch the dates, but some of them, and another one that I was interested in. I know you said on our animated episode that you weren't a really big fan of, but Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers has a CGI / live action movie, kind of like the new Tom and Jerry one they did recently, the new Scooby one. So I actually enjoyed Rescue Rangers, so I'm looking forward to that one. And I missed a date on it, but there was a ton of Marvel stuff revealed. And let's see,
X-Men '97, that right there.
That one was good.
I really thought people were fucking with me when I said it to begin with. And then I was like, this is legit. I got excited. I got a little chub monster. I'm not gonna lie. Got a little chub on it.
That was announced. Their animated slate, so that was announced. That's a 2023 show. No
Sadly.
set dates, but a continuation of the original 90 show. A lot of the voice actors are coming back, so we'll see how that was. And then I saw some others, and I think most of these were either 2022 or 2023. Spider-Man freshman year, I think, is next year in 2022. That's an MCU-based one. Yeah. What If Season 2, and then Marvel Zombies, which the Marvel Zombies sounds interesting, but what they didn't tell us is this a continuation from the What If episode, or is this a completely different timeline with that happening?
I'm
Interested
kind of
to
thinking
see
it
that.
might be a continuation because, you got the little teaser of the Thanos zombie at the end of the episode. So it's like, what do we got?
And then we did have a few other shows, so the live action Marvel shows. So 2022, we've got Moon Knight coming out, which is one of the two shows they showed a few minutes of the teaser trailer for. Looks not enough in there for me to really grade it, but it looked like it was going to be very Dark Knight type of movie.
Well, as it should. The character is a very dark and ominous character. I mean, he's one of my more favorite. Well, I forget who did Ed Brubaker when Finch was drawing a few years back. They had a short run together of probably 15 or 20 issues.
Those
Great.
are really good.
And they stick along those lines. It's good because they've done a good play, but they didn't make him so crazy where it was hard to follow. Hopefully the show does that. The suit, what brief glimpse you get of it, I'm not really a fan of the mummy-ish looking hands.
I am not either, but
I'm hoping at least it's something else.
The glimpses we got, I think, in the still photos was less impressive than in action and movement. It looked better when it was moving. So maybe it'll work out good.
Well, knowing Marvel, they tend to give you a glimpse of something to really mislead you as to what the final product is. You get this.
This is true.
Vision of something you think is that, and it's we rub it up your ass and we give you this. So hopefully.
Yeah. What in the other show that they showed us a few clips of She-Hulk. Saw a little bit of Bruce Banner and the Smart Hulk in there. That one was even less of how was the feel of the show for me than Moon Knight was. So I'm not sure. I'm gonna watch it because it does look interesting. I just don't know exactly where they're going with it. It was kind of very.
Did you get a kind of cheesy or campy vibe off of it though? Like some of her dialogue, what little dialogue she had, just really kind of come off campy and cheesy as fuck.
It very much started there, and that's what I'm saying. I'm not sure what the feel of the show is supposed to be. Is it more of serious, or is it more?
I get the vibe. It's like the Hulk injected with Ant-Man.
Yeah,
that's what I'm
that's
getting.
A good
it's like
description.
where it's going to matter, but you've got your Ant-Man humor based, to where she's more lighthearted than the Hulk. So,
yeah.
She doesn't look very big. I will say that. I mean,
no, that kind of struck me too. It's like she was very, very small. Even when she and maybe she wasn't fully hulked out, but in her starting to turn green phase, she was very short. Tiny.
I don't
want
her to look like the Hulk, but I do want her to look like She-Hulk, where she's at least a 7 foot tall Amazonian goddess versus hey, she's about 5'8" and really lean.
Yeah, I want her to be tall and muscular like she should be, just not like oversized like an Ed McGuinness Hulk. I don't need that. I just need her to be tall, statuesque, and have good definition to her. And you couldn't really see that in that clip that they gave us. But a couple other shows that they showed just very, very small glimpses of for 2022 was Miss Marvel, and don't really have much detail other than a couple of scenes in that, and then Secret Invasion, which apparently I thought that one was going to be animated, but apparently it's going to be live action.
Ew.
Oh, yeah. And then we've got a few others, but they didn't confirm if these were 2022 or 2023 at this point, which Agatha, House of Harkness, feeding off of WandaVision, her appearance in there. Loki season 2. Ironheart, which is supposed to be kind of their follow-up to Iron Man, which, set on its own, I'm fine. Just don't try to replace Iron Man with Ironheart. It's not a comparable character. I mean, even War Machine, who I really enjoy and I think was a great character, is still not Iron Man because he can't build the stuff. He can just use the armor to fight really well, right?
Yeah.
Echo, which is based on the Maya Lopez Echo character coming out of Hawkeye series. So apparently she's going to be in that, which, reminder to anyone watching, that series actually starts up on November 24th with the first 2 episodes, I believe. And then the last I saw was for Marvel was I Am Groot, which is apparently going to be, well, obviously he's CGI, but it's still going to be a live action Groot show. Not really much detail on those last few other than, hey, they're coming. We won't get a chance to figure out more about them until they get closer. And I'm assuming most of those are probably going to be 2023 at this point. Since we're on the subject of Marvel and talking about the shows and stuff from Disney Plus, we won't have a chance to review it today, but the new Spider-Man No Way Home trailer is supposed to drop this evening. We're recording on Tuesday at 7:15 right now, so we will miss it for this, but we will catch it on the next go-round. But did want to throw that out there for anyone who is looking for it. And then also, while we're on Marvel, I've noticed gotten a few news updates from not only Marvel Legends, but their Galactus HasLab as well. And I checked the other HasLabs so we can share some of those. So Marvel Legends Nova, the human rocket, the one is the Walgreens exclusive, is actually online for sale starting as of today. They don't expect the inventory they have to last long, so if anybody's looking for it, quickly go to it.
Run, get it while you can.
Yeah, luckily I've got 2 because a friend of ours picked it up for us and sent it to me, but I was struggling trying to find one, so I was happy to see it made it online, even though I no longer need it. At least everybody else who wants it can get it. Also, updates today, the Galactus packaging for the HasLab Galactus. A few weeks ago they had a B, and C packaging art voting contest to figure out what they were actually going to use for the box art. We will post a picture in here on here with us for what it looks like, but package A is the winner at 49.6% of the vote. C was the runner-up at 41%, and package B, which was the one of just Galactus' head and the heralds flying by, only came in at 8%. So apparently that one wasn't very well liked, but I will say all the sketch art was great. View. Yeah, and that's what this one is. The one that won is the one where he's standing back and you kind of see the cityscape as well. But it was pretty interesting to see how that came out. And, as I mentioned on the HasLabs, I did check the others. Looks like Ghostbusters HasLab, they've been blowing it out of the water. They're at 122% of their 7,000 backer goal. They've already unlocked. Yeah.
With a hose.
Yeah, they've unlocked their tier 1, which is the hose to the neutrino one, which you have to buy separately, which is the one thing that really, when I contemplated, was there any way that I'd buy this proton pack? I'm not into Ghostbusters quite enough to spend $400 on the pack, but I was like, I realized also it doesn't have the wand. No, I'm not paying that for it now. I got to go buy another $120 piece to go with it.
Yeah, I was going to say it's just rather pricey just for the wand too.
Yeah, and it's 120 or 130 bucks, I think.
It's cheaper than I thought it was, honestly. I thought it was close to 200.
I don't think it's quite that high. I'd have to look to be sure, but I don't think it might quite make that high.
Well, I was looking on Big Bass, so that could have been what it was. I want to say it was like 180, and then the 180 range on there. But maybe
I'm wrong, and it is more. But I was thinking it was less. But this is the one on Big Bass is actually a re-release, so maybe the first go around was cheaper just because prices have increased as well. I mean, I think it's a 2-year-old piece or a year-old piece at this point.
Really?
Yeah. But their tier 2 doesn't unlock it to 11,000 backers, and they have said all they said is it's an afterlife bundle, which means it's something from the new movie, probably a sticker set to make the pack look different from the new movie. I don't know, but not anything that really appealed to me.
They're really getting the crowd sizzling with these.
Well, since we're talking about that, how about the Star Wars Rancor beast? Right now,
fucking bones. Yeah. Bones, monster. Bones.
Well, yeah. That's all I can say about that tier 2 reveals it's bones. And that doesn't even open until 13,500 backers. And I'm like, really? It's bones. What else can I say? I mean, tier 1 reveal, the Gamoran guard wasn't bad, but you kind of knew that was coming cool. With it.
Yeah, exactly.
But even for that you got to reach 11,000 backers, and they're still only at 57% of 9,000.
The only way they redeem these fucking bones is I want the little throne that Boba Fett's going to be sitting on. And Jabba's fat ass can't fit on it, apparently, obviously. But if you put the little throne there, for your Boba Fett figure or Bib or whoever was ruling, after Jedi, I'm cool with that. I might well say, the fucking bones.
Yeah. My problem with a
That
lot
are
of
really exclusive loot. We need some kind of exclusive loot, maybe.
my problem with all of these is the fact that they're trying to use the tiers as, okay, when we put these tiers on here, this is to get us to the next stage of the selling. But you see the two different ways they do that is put that on there right away. Say, here's all the tiers unlocked. And that's what G.I. Joe Sky Striker has done. And, they're only at 54% of their 10,000 backers. Whereas Star Wars took the approach of, we'll show you when we get further along to try and entice you to buy more. And that worked for Galactus, but it's not seeming to work for the Rancor beast because it's not moving. But, G.I. Joe is hit almost the same level at almost the same amount of backers as the Star Wars one, and the G.I. Joe one is a 3.75 inch scale.
But do you feel like maybe the Joe fans are feeling like, hey, if we kind of dick around a little bit, they'll throw something else out there? Or are they going to really, kind of like the parents tell you, you're not getting dessert, but you still get it?
Well, that's one, you have a point, because one of the news points today from that Sky Striker update, they've already shown all the tiers, and they haven't reached the first backing point, right? So we haven't got the first tier. The first tier is at 13,000 backers, and it's just a pilot version of Scarlet. It's just her head on the Ace pilot body with a repaint. But they've also said, hey, these are all O-ring style and they are vintage style. But guess what? We're going to put some more characters out. They announced today that, hey, we're working on a Dr. Mindbender in the old O-ring style, so you can get a vintage Mindbender and stuff. So apparently they're trying to go that route and push that by, hey, if you buy this, buy into it, because there's going to be more coming in this same scale, the same type of thing.
And your other collectors just have to know, if they're dicking around with Mindbender for that, he's coming to classifieds.
Oh, yes.
That's going to be a soon deal.
Yeah, well, and classifieds, like we've talked before, while that's a great line, that's also got to vie for space on your shelf against Super 7, which is, a great segue into our other Super 7 talk. Supposed to have had Thundercats Wave 5 last week, but for some reason, it was pushed back off Friday, and then all we got was on Saturday morning, there was an announcement that said, hey, there was problems on Third Earth, and we couldn't get it out to you, which is kind of confusing considering you're just showing me pictures, right? So what do we need?
It's not like we're asking you to ship this shit we've already pre-ordered. I mean, no.
Yeah.
I just want pictures at this point.
And all it said was, this announcement will come soon, but there's been no update since then, so we have no idea. Right. Now, maybe what they pushed it back for is because they wanted to do this next vehicle that they've announced today, and we saw the teaser a week ago for it, but they don't venture into the vehicles too often other than Thunder Tank. But now we've gotten the Ninja Turtle Party Wagon. We got the full images.
$499.99.
Now, it is extremely expensive, and the pre-orders are up through December 17th. But did you read any of the article about it? It will.
I looked at all the pictures today, and it gives some very detailed, of the inside, and it looks as detailed as you can get for an animated vehicle.
The detailing is amazing, but they've also got it where you can open up the rear trunk, and there's a set of tools for Donatello to work on the party van.
He had his little welder out and his hood on, and
a lot of extra
which they've also announced that exclusive Raphael in the trench coat to kind of entice you into the more animated, verse.
Yeah, and if anybody's interested, that pre-order is up through December 17th, but it is a release for fourth quarter of next year. So whatever you order now, it's going to be at least a year. Then with Ninja Turtles,
Super 7, it'll probably fourth quarter 2023.
Oh no, not for Ninja Turtles. That's just Thundercats. Ninja Turtles show up on time. All their stuff gets here pretty much on time. I will say though, the size of the van was actually pretty big. They've got a size to fit 6 of the Ninja Turtle Ultimates in there, which
that was impressive. And they probably had the tape on the seats, and it was pretty neat looking.
Yeah, and I like how the roof opens and everything else. Pretty interesting, but at the same time, I'm not sure it's something I'm going to go in for another $500. It's a made to order piece, so if you're interested in it, go for it. It just, as much as I love Ninja Turtles, it just doesn't do it for me at that price tag. I'd rather just have the main Turtles and that be it.
I loved them growing up, and growing up, I had the Turtle Wagon, the Party Wagon, every hero villain they had for the whole set series. It's not, it's like you said, shelf space. I mean, we both have, ridiculous man rooms and somewhat man houses. This is another property that I couldn't. You weigh your options, and I couldn't. I did go in for the Slash. I don't know, something about him just always really loved as a kid that figure.
Yeah.
And there's certain ones I've seen like they look really cool. Like even the Michelangelo they done with the wetsuit, and I remember having that figure as a kid, and like it was cool to see it in a modern figure today, but not enough for me to drop $59.
Yeah, and that's as more and more of this stuff gets expensive, then you have children that are a little bit older than mine, but you collect, and then they start collecting, and what our subject today is about is video games. When that comes into the picture, everything gets more expensive. So before we leave the news completely, a couple of things I did want to mention from a video game perspective, because it's a good lead into our topics today. But Boba Fett has a skin coming out in Fortnite. I am not a Fortnite player, but my small one is, and he enjoys it very much. He is determined to have that skin the day it drops on December 24th. And then,
he's gonna need that, dude.
Well, he's already got Mando and Flash and everybody else that they've dropped. So I mean, I guess so. But I for me, it's the same play no matter what character I've got, and skin's the same. It's just slightly different looking stuff.
You know what? I'm a skin guy myself. Like I literally, like with the Spider-Man game, what sold me was being able to play as Scarlet Spider, and I played that entire game as Scarlet Spider.
I do like it occasionally, but at the same time, when at least in those games, it changes. So I'm like, okay, yes, it's the exact same powers and abilities, but I'm playing as a different character. I can kind of trick myself into it. But for this, it's like everybody is running around shooting at everybody, and everybody has the same moves, the same look. It's just a different body build. So I couldn't get into it. But I'm not a Fortnite player either.
Well, I hate Fortnite myself, so it's. Yeah. But I get the skin deal because I'm a skin guy myself. So I've literally been sold on games just on the fact that you could get certain skins. And I'll give Fortnite credit. I mean, they got a John Wick skin at one point. They've had Ghost Rider. I mean, they've had some cool stuff.
Oh, they have plenty of cool stuff. It's just not for me.
Yeah.
But another game that really was not one that I was big into, Halo. This is their 20-year anniversary, I think. And so they Paramount Plus is actually doing a TV show, and I want to say it's live action, but I could be wrong. I didn't get a chance to check that out, but they've released a teaser trailer for that. It's a very small teaser. All you see is Master Chief sitting there, and they tell him it's time to go, and he puts his helmet on. But it looks CGI from what I was seeing, but I've also heard rumors it might be live action, but that's supposed to drop on their station 2022. But again, not really a game I enjoy, but I know it has a huge following. But since we're talking about that stuff and talking about games to begin with, I think that was what our subject was tonight, was video gaming. We haven't delved into it too much so far, but from a standpoint of classics, from a standpoint of where we are now, what kind of gaming system do you typically play on? Now, are you a PC gamer? Are you a console only? Or are you a combination? Do you do any mobile games? That's one that I didn't even think about really until today, but I don't mobile game either, to be honest.
I don't have time like I used to. I was really big into the Game of Thrones on mobile. I loved it. Marvel Champions, I was big into that right there. I have downloaded a Contra and a Mega Man game that you can get in the Google Play Store. They're free. They're both pretty fun little, plays or whatnot. But right now I'm on the PlayStation 5. I mean, I own several systems, but the PlayStation 5 is what I'm playing the most right now.
So what other systems do you own, if you don't mind me asking?
I have a Switch. I have the PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4. I still have a Sega, NES, Super NES, which I have consoles for cartridges for, and the Raspberry Pi is probably one of my more favorite that I've got because it's got such a mix of. I mean, it's a little device this damn big, and you
Yeah.
got 200 Nintendo games, 200 Super Nintendo games. You got arcade games. Mine has PlayStation games on it. Like I literally have Castlevania Symphony of the Night, which is one of my all-time favorite games for PlayStation on there. So it's a pretty nice little. If you don't own one, I highly recommend spending the money to get a good one. You can buy. I've seen them as low as like $49 on eBay. Get somebody that builds them and get a good one. Our buddy Waylon, if you can reached out to him, this man is a master at it, and he will build you a beautiful one.
Yeah, we have one as well. I mean, we've got that. We've still got an Xbox One. We've got the new Series X, and we've got a Switch. So let me ask this question: do you have a preferred system out of all the ones you have that you play?
PlayStation. I for years I was kind of back and forth between PlayStation and Xbox. I've owned every Xbox with the exception of the latest one. The last one I had was I had a day one Xbox One. I enjoyed the system. It was a pretty fun system. The games I prefer to play are exclusive to PlayStation, or I can get them on PlayStation and Xbox. So I just prefer to go PlayStation because I mean that was the first next gen console I got. Because why a lot of people were still playing Nintendo 64. I had a PlayStation 1. And so I just grew up with that controller in my hands for so long that I just anything else is foreign to me. And I know you can buy that same style controller for Xbox, but there's just not enough exclusive content for Xbox for me to justify buying two $700 systems.
And that's understandable. I mean, that kind of leads into a couple of things I had in mind when we first threw out our topics was hey, what's their preferred system and do you have a brand loyalty? And it sounds like you do to the Xbox, or to the PlayStation, excuse me. I don't really have necessarily a brand loyalty, but I will say since the first time I bought an Xbox, which was with the 360, I've continued to buy and upgrade those.
Out there too.
It was, and I've continued to buy and upgrade those. But the biggest reason for me for that is not really anything with a difference in the system, because I we've played games at your house and at mine before. I could pick up an Xbox controller. There's not a whole lot of difference than maybe just what's the difference in the button, because it's not an A button, it's a triangle or whatever. That's the only difference really in the controllers. They're set up basically the same way, so that didn't bother me. It was more of I've already got an Xbox, so why change systems? So it was laziness for the most part, but also.
Well, I will say, like, during the days of the Xbox 360, I do feel like they edged out PlayStation 2 and 3 at the time. I think it was PlayStation 2 and then into the early days of 3. They kind of edged, the 360 edged that out, other than the Red Ring of Death that was, ooh.
Yeah.
But, I remember playing, the Marvel, what was the 4-player Marvel game you could get?
Oh, shoot.
Escapes me at the moment. I had a really great intro, and you could pick various different characters, and they had
Ultimate Alliance.
There you go, Ultimate Alliance 1. 2, not so great, but the first one, I remember the 4 of us playing that, and that was a good little, game. And at that time, I was probably more of an Xboxer, but, PlayStation 3, when it, broke out, it kind of started edging ahead, and then 4 just...
That's
just a little way
for me, the biggest thing with the Xbox, the reason I've stuck with it is because I've got games and I don't want to necessarily go sell the whole system in every game every time I upgrade one. Sometimes I will, like we finally got rid of the 360 after we got the new Series X, but we had the 360 and the one for a while, and I'm like, well, we don't need all 3. But those games, if I wanted to keep one, or if the kid wanted to keep one, it's like, okay, well, if I sell the game, or if I buy a PlayStation, I can't play the game on it anymore because it's not compatible. So I got to go sell it. But at least, especially now with this Xbox Series X, it's backwards compatible greatly. So a lot of my 1 and 360 games still work on them. I'm like, well, I can still pick those up and play them now. Do I a lot of times? Probably not, but I have the option to.
Yeah, I will say that there is a is a good edge because like when I bought PlayStation 5, they kind of touted the backwards compatibility. So I was kind of like, okay, I was excited because, there was just some PlayStation 4 games I was playing at the time. But I was under the impression that, it was going to go a little further back. It's like on PlayStation 3, you could play PlayStation 1 games on PlayStation 3. Not really the 2, but the 1. So I was kind of hoping with the 5 that I could play some PlayStation 3 games because there was a couple of really great games on PlayStation 3 that I big time enjoyed. I wanted to go back and play. And nah, unable to redisc.
Yeah, and
You can play 4 and 5. That's all you play.
Yeah, that's the thing I found, and you can't. I will say that the new Xbox has some issues every now and then when you put an old disc in and then it tries to go back to a new one. It's like, wait a minute, this configuration is weird because the graphics are different now. But if you just unplug and replug the machine, it starts up just fine. I haven't experienced too much, but especially like for me, I'll buy if I want an old game. A lot of times I'll buy a digital copy because I don't want to have to keep a physical one around. I just want, if I already have it, I have it. But if I got to get another one again, shelf space, and I've got a ton of movies in my collection as well as video games. I'm like, I only got so much space to put this stuff, so I'll go buy digital ones. But, speaking on some of these, what brings to mind about brand loyalty is it used to be that Nintendo was the be all end all for everybody, right? I mean,
it was the king until what? Probably 98, 99, maybe.
Yeah, and I will say
the very late 90s. I'll give it that. I mean, it was the king.
And I guess I'll throw this out there as kind of an aside to where I was going with that. But if you go back to when we were kids in the 80s, right? Video games were just starting to get big. It wasn't, you had games that in the past, you had games that people enjoyed, you had Atari and all this stuff, and those things got big, but only to a certain degree. It's like it's still a child's game. Yeah. You get into it now. I mean, these people. There's college courses on this. There's college teams for gaming. There's people who work in this industry. It is in everything we do now. And then you see people like, I'll use Henry Cavill as an example. He almost missed being called to go audition for Superman because he was too busy playing his video games at the house. He was playing World of Warcraft
of all things.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like it's so ingrained in everybody now. I don't know how you survive without it, but
look at the ease of. Well, I mean, you play it on your cell phone. I mean, you can put any game you want pretty much with an emulator or through the Play Store. To where when we were kids growing up, you had very few options, or you had to go to an arcade and play something like this in the background. You couldn't just find that on Nintendo. You couldn't just find that on Sega. You had to play that one game solely in an arcade until it may or may not drop. And it was probably the early 90s for things that like that started dropping on consoles. Later, I think Mortal Kombat kind of kicked that off in a lot of ways for a lot of genres that were solely arcade only.
Yeah, and I mean it's the whole thing is huge now. But where I was going with that before we kind of took that aside was if you grew up when we did, Nintendo was the be all end all, and I remember it all the way through I was brand loyal to it. I mean, I had a Sega Genesis, but it was
I own your Sega Genesis.
Is that the one that you have?
That's the Sega Genesis I have. It's your Sega.
But you remember I played it, but it was also this is kind of my redheaded stepchild. I only hook it up and play it every now and then. But Super Nintendo, 64, GameCube, it was all about Nintendo. But now, with the Switch and stuff, I have one, but it's only good for me when I travel for work and stuff, or even for personal travel. But I don't get it. When I'm doing it for personal travel, I'm usually going to visit folks, so I'm not really playing too much. But for work, it's a nice thing to come back to the hotel room and sit down on the bed or on the couch or chair, whatever in the room, and play.
It's a fun little system. I like it. And I mean, like Mario Kart's fun on it just because it's exclusive to that. But I mean, there was a handful of games that I played a lot of Diablo on there. Honestly, when Diablo 3 broke back out and it hit Switch, I played the hell out of it on there because it just graphic wise it fit that better to me than it did a PlayStation 4 or 5. And there was a Batman Telltale game that I got pretty well into. I beat the game. It was fun. I think I played it while I was on night shift for a little while. And then the Marvel Ultimate Alliance, that was exclusive to the Switch, I believe. And it was pretty fun.
It's a fun system, but it's one of those that for me, it's really like a Game Boy. It's a travel system. When I'm at home and I can hook it up to the TV and play it, I'm like, well, I can hook that up and play it, or I can hook up the Xbox. And I've tried to purposely buy games separately.
Yeah.
And honestly, most of Nintendo's is exclusive games like Zelda. If you want to play Zelda, you got to buy it on Nintendo. You want to play Mario Kart, you got to buy it on Nintendo.
Let me ask you this, Monster. Do you feel like maybe Nintendo has trapped themselves within a niche, graphic wise, because it's almost like a lot of their games seemingly have that more cartoony vibe versus the realistic vibe that a PlayStation or Xbox has.
For their exclusives, yeah. And that's the biggest complaint I can put in Xbox, just to take a backtrack, is the exclusive games. There's a wide variety of games I can buy on Xbox, but they don't have that many that are exclusive to them that are that appealing to me. Like there's no Spider-Man, there's no Wolverine coming out for it. It's the same, but the shared games are perfectly fine. But I can't sit there and just play the Switch at home, because when I'm traveling and it's attached to the screen, I'm staring at a 7-inch screen. I'm playing the game. It's fun, and the controllers are right there as part of it. When I get home and I hook it to the docking station, well, it's great to see it on the big screen, but at the same time, now I've got these two little controllers in my hand. If I want to put them in the controller pad that comes with them, I got to take the protective covers the bumpers that are on them, just in case I drop it somewhere, and I got to take all that off, then put it back on when I'm done. And
So I'm a rebel. I didn't do all that. I bought the controller, which I bought the Pro controller as well, and it does have a very Xbox feel to it. I
yeah,
will say I liked it as far as that goes, because it had an Xbox 360 controller feel to me, and that was one of the better controllers.
and I've thought about buying it. The problem is like, okay, I didn't buy one. I actually got the system as a Christmas present, and so I just never went and bought anything else go with it other than a few games. But when I come home and I'm like, all right, well, I don't want to take all the stuff off the sleeves off the controller pieces to put them inside this controller. And then you're sitting there and you're like, doing this is hard to me versus holding on, and I can steadily hold on in case I have to hit two buttons at one
you're
time.
Like a lot of us gamers, we do this.
Yeah.
Get the fuck over here, motherfucker.
Yeah, keeping it, but you've got one hand to keep it steady while you're pushing buttons with the other one, and with these two separate controllers, you can't do that.
There's too much freedom there. You're like Ricky Bobby. I don't know what to do with my hands.
Yeah.
What do I do?
Yeah, and that's my biggest complaint with Switch. Now, I'd love to take it for travel, but when I'm at home, I'm turning on the Xbox. And the shame is I bought a couple of games that are compatible with both, and I bought them specifically for the Switch. I bought like that Power Rangers Battle for the Grid and G.I. Joe Operation Blackout. Now, traveling, I beat the entire Power Rangers game, but they keep adding new characters so you can get new flags and stuff. And I'm like, okay, I might get those and play later.
They added the Ninjetti Atom recently.
Yeah, and I've got to go buy a few. I'm missing like the last 2 seasons of new characters, but like the G.I. Joe game, I really want to play it, but I've not turned it on home, because it's like, okay, I can hold this thing steady in my hands and play on a 7-inch screen, or I can look at this TV screen in front of me, which is like 16 inches, and I can play another game with a controller that I can hold on to. I'm like, screw it, I'm playing Xbox. It's just too hard to make that decision, but But Nintendo, like you said, has also worked up a niche. There's certain games that I love on Nintendo, and I will always buy it for the Switch. I love Mario Tennis, because it's a sports game, but it's super fun and easy to control. I like what is it? The new Mario Golf that's come out seems pretty cool. Mario Kart is always a must-have, because a lot of battles. There's a lot of battles in the house over Mario.
There's a lot of ugly talk goes on in the household when Mario Karts broke out. My daughter is probably the worst. She is terrible as far as being like, she has to win.
Oh yeah.
Like, I've never met a more competitive person. Like, if you poured me into a female body, it's her. She's a little asshole. Because she has to win, and if she doesn't. Oh, she does. Oh, I'm terrible too. I'm a horrible sport. But she gets it honest. I mean, it's me, her, and her boyfriend will play, and it gets bad.
But since we're talking about that, and that kind of segues us into our other topic tonight, which what are the games that you're currently playing or enjoying, and what type of games do you play in general? And there's a ton of different types out there. I am personally one of those that doesn't get too into the fighting or the action and war ones. I pick a few out that I enjoy that have a good storyline, but those ones like Fortnite where it's just run around and shoot everybody, I'm not playing that. First of all, I don't want to get online and play it because guess who's going to be the noob who gets shot every time? As soon as they start, it's going to be me because I don't have 12 hours a day to sit in my mom's basement and play it until I become the expert. I just can't do it. But I will pick some of those up like Destiny, which had its own individual storyline, and you can do some online play too. But the individual storylines is what I'm looking for in that. And I'm not one of those that goes out and buys every Call of Duty or any of those. And I know you got online as well as those. They didn't appeal to me.
If it is in first person, Hassel's not playing it because Hassel has to have more than hands. I've got to see my character. It has to be third person because I'm going to get shot in the back of the fucking head repeatedly. The only Call of Duty I played at all was on my cell phone, and I got pretty decent at that there. But I've tried it on every console. I'm not a Call of Duty, plus there's never really no story there, so it doesn't just it's basically if you play one Call of Duty, you play them all. It's just a different fucking map.
Yeah.
It's the same assholes basically online that's typically on there every damn night. It's not for me.
It's not for me. And my other thing with playing those first person shooter stuff like that, like I enjoy them, but I'm also my first of all, my eyesight's terrible. If you can't tell how thick my glasses are from the webcam here, they're pretty big. But I am one of those where when I'm aiming, I gotta do the slow aim and line it up and shoot. I'm not fast with it, so I'm gonna get killed quickly.
I got the snipe. Yeah.
Yeah.
The only first person game you'll ever see me enjoyably play is Mike Tyson's Punch Out.
Oh, what about Goldeneye? That was a classic, man.
That
4-player fight there was well worth it.
Especially if you ever got the golden gun.
Oh yeah.
Everyone was talking about it. If you got that golden gun, you were a son of a bitch.
Or if you play the theme like we're gonna play with just remote mines, or if you you have to chop each other to death.
Josh was the king of remote mines. He would blow himself up just to get somewhere. He didn't care. He would he's like, I'm a suicide bomber. We're all dying.
Yeah, or you walk up and chop you to death.
God, yes.
But what about fighting games? Do you actually play any of those or?
Yeah, I like fighting games. I love the Mortal Kombat games. And typically they have enough exclusive to where they sucker me into buying that $100 game to begin with, and then all the combat passes with the extended fighters it's like every 2-3 months they drop 2-3 players. And I typically buy all of those. I'm big into those. I still stick with the WWE games, even though I'm not as much of a modern wrestling fan for WWE as I used to be. The legends typically sell me because there's enough of the legends on there to where I can and I think that the new one, the WWE 22, I think is going to be the next one that comes out because they skipped a year. They're bringing back the I guess commissioner type gameplay where you can create your own brand and do your own thing. I always enjoyed that. That was pretty
that's
fun,
and I love playing those. Now I love playing those. Y'all hate playing them with me.
Yes.
For whatever reason, I have the most uncanny timing to reverse every move you do. But other fighting games and stuff, and I almost consider the WWE one a sports game, honestly. But when you get into the fighting ones, like I like some of them, but like the Power Rangers Battle for the Grid is really fun. But it's also
that was a pretty fun game. I bought the digital copy on PlayStation. And I played the arcade a good bit of it, and I've just started the storyline. I want to say last Friday I tinkered around. I had a little bit of time after work. I said, I'll keep the arcade off. And then by the time my daughter got here, she put a Christmas tree and she was like, Daddy, cut the game off because if you play one more level, you're not getting off of it. So
it's enjoyable. It's also a little repetitive though. After a while, it does get old. But like I like the more classic ones, the Mortal Kombat, the Street Fighters, the older ones. The newer ones are fun too. But when you get into you got to do this combo mode in this way, or you lose the whole match. It kind of loses a little bit of enjoyment for me. I still enjoy playing them, but that's really the only fighting games I really get into is more of the classic ones. What about other sports games? You playing anything else in that realm? Or
I play MLB The Show for a good bit, and I play Madden, of course. That's my two sports that I will MLB The Show the hell out of it, and Madden. I mean, I just get on there and even with my Falcons, who lost so damn bad Sunday that if I were the mayor of Atlanta, I would say change your name to the Georgia Falcons so everyone can share in this damn shame. But I'll get on Madden with my beloved Falcons, and I'll kick a little ass and do what they should be doing on the field, and represent the Braves on the show. The show's probably the best of the baseball games they've put out. It is superior by far. Like Madden, it doesn't have any competition, obviously.
Yeah.
But you do got a little competition in the baseball games. They still, put out a couple more other than that. But
For me, I have a harder time with the sports games. Like like Madden and stuff like that. It's like too many controls just to get to the end result I want. I like these simple sports games, the NFL Blitz, NBA Jam.
yeah, those are fun.
4 or 5 little buttons, and you can play just repeatedly. Yeah.
Or you could actually throw the ball and get them out. If you hit them with the ball, street ball, so to speak.
Do you remember the Bigs? When they had MLB, the Bigs, they had 1 and 2 of those, and then they just quit making them. I was like, those were great. I still have number 2 somewhere around here. That's one of the ones I still love to play. Now, it's not, that is one of the ones that's not backwards compatible on the X, but the Xbox One, it still works. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was a fun one. Now, NBA Jam is probably my favorite out of all those. We actually just
I dusted that off not too long ago, actually. But I had to kick the old lady's ass a little bit in that, and I got to talking it up a little bit and talking about my skill, how good I was. And I guess she thought I was drunk enough she could take me. She did not. She did not. She didn't want none of that Utah Jazz. You get Malone and Stockman.
Yeah, those are classic, and I love those. Surprisingly, Blitz is not really readily available anymore. That one was a fun one to me too, because you could run the same pattern on people and just skunk them.
I love the fact you could leg drop a son of a bitch after you tackle them,
or you could suplex them or powerbomb them. That was always fun.
I'll never forget my cousin. He got so furious because I was kind of kicking his ass. Like he'd beat me Madden like 100-0. He just destroyed me Madden. But Blitz, I could beat his ass. And then I was always trying to rub it in afterwards, like you tackle him, throw the old leg drop at the elbow or whatever. He's like, "You can't do that. That's not fair. You can't do that. It's against the rules." I'm like, "This one."
Not on here.
Yeah, he would hate it. But then when we played Madden, he more than made up for it. Because believe me, I was like by the second quarter, like, let's just get this off. So,
yeah, I'm not good at those. But after talking about some of these, what's the stuff that I know we're talking about different genres here, but what's the stuff that you're currently playing? Like, what are the games that you're currently into or have enjoyed playing lately? Or is there any property you follow?
Well, I beat Miles Morales Spider-Man after beating the regular Spider-Man. It was a pretty fun little story, and it delves off enough to where it's his own story. It was fun. I'm looking forward to the one they're coming out with next year, and then the Wolverine game. I'm like I said, playing MLB. I'm kind of tired of MLB The Show right now. I'm kind of back and forth between Madden and Shattered Grid or Battle for the Grid or whatever it is to play Power Rangers. I was playing Werewolf the Apocalypse for a good little while there. I liked it. It was a cool little game. You got to transform them back and forth between a big wolf or a smaller wolf, depending on what you needed to do. It's a fun little game. I cranked up the Raspberry the other day and broke out the old Mario skills. Played a little bit of Contra. I was terrible at Contra. I remembered myself being so good at this game, and I was horrible.
You find that whatever timing you thought you knew on those games no longer applies because it's stepped up so much. It's like, okay, I pushed the button, nothing happened because I pushed it too early.
And what happened? Why is it games back then? Everything was in 19XX, in 2000XX. When are we going to reach the XX years? I mean, when does this happen for us? I literally played Double Dragon last night, and I kicked some ass on there. I will say, that was one I did, because there's nothing like putting the old knees to old dude's face. Put the old 1-2 combo and about 3 knees, they're done.
Used to love to take the knife and throw the knife at people.
That was kind of fun. I found I didn't remember liking the crowbar as much as I used to. But the knife was a lot more.
I like the knife and I like the whip you could take.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Yeah, you always had to beat up the girls to get the whip though.
Yeah.
But nowadays, you're like, this is not a passable game anymore. This didn't age well.
Oh, I've played Power Rangers, but I haven't picked it up in a while. After I completed the whole story and I completed the going through the arcade mode with every character I had. I need to buy the new ones and do that. But my problem is every time I start a game, I start enjoying it a little bit, or I don't enjoy it, and then I'm like, oh, it's 11 o'clock at night. I got to go to bed. I got to work in the morning. And I turn it off. I was like, I'll pick up here tomorrow. And 9 out of 10 times I don't. I mean, the sign of a great game to me is a good game is one that I enjoy playing, but a great game is one that I'll come back to day in, day out, right? And the only one for me that really has been that way, probably in the last year to 2 years, is the Jedi Fallen Order. Like I was back on it every day until I got through the whole game.
Oh,
It,
really?
it was really fun. I've picked up a couple others I've enjoyed, and I can do a couple of days, and then I get away from them. I'm like, oh, it's a month later, and I haven't turned it back on. That Dragon Ball Kakarot was pretty fun. The new Assassin's Creed, the Vikings one's fun. And Assassin's Creed is one of those properties or those franchises I like to play some of them, but they get so repetitive with some or so outlandish that I'm like, yeah, this one's not fun. But I'll wait and buy the next one or try the next one. Oh, this one I like. Like I liked Origins. I didn't buy the one that was after that, the Odyssey. It wasn't fun. And now the new Vikings one, I was like, that one sounds fun. And then I found it on sale for like $15. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try this out. And I picked it up and played it and enjoyed the crap out of it. I'm kind of
It's
disappointed.
hard to find a game that captivates me to the point where I feel I have to play it every day. I mean, I'll be honest, there's been several games throughout the years. I would have to be told, hey, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. You got to work more. Go to bed.
And see, that's the same for me, and that's what makes it a great game. For it to be a great game, it's got to be one I want to come back to, but it's got to have a few other elements, and that's something I wanted to touch on here. Why do we enjoy the ones we do? First of all, it's got to be something I enjoy playing, but the enjoyment factor is number one. Number two is usually that's fed by the plot, but the ease of play is another thing to me too. If you make it so dang difficult to do one activity or one thing, eventually I'll get frustrated and just say screw this and quit.
The Last God of War. That game is beautiful. The graphics are amazing. I made it about a third of the way into this game, and I said, "Fuck you, cut it off, give it to Josh." I later said, "It's yours. You can have it. God bless you." Because it just got to a point where it was like, I didn't want to have to play with the kid. You want to play with the guy, Kratos. You don't want to play with the fucking kid. Like you had to distract with the kid and, then attack with Kratos. It was like they muddled up the gameplay a little too much and convoluted it to the point to where you want to include this kid in the story, but you make gameplay a little too difficult. I don't care for things like that. I mean, do I want it on easy? No, that's not it. But I do want it to be to a point to where it's not just so difficult that it's just,
Yeah, and I think that's what I meant by easy play. Like I don't need to set on easy, but at the same time, Jedi Fallen Order was one of those. I can play a level, and if I have to repeat some things because I didn't get it right or do some stuff over, that's fine. But if it got to a point where I could have never finished one section of a mission to move on to the next mission, I would have quit on it because it's like, okay.
If I die 6 or 7 times, that's fine. But when you start down about 20 times and there's like no, and like,
yeah,
I'm not gonna lie with Zelda, I would YouTube the fuck out of some shit.
Oh, me too.
And
Especially the newest
once you
one.
YouTubed it, it was easy to defeat. Even YouTubing some things with like God of War, it was like, what the fuck here? I mean, it was just too much. I mean, I needed 3 more fingers to try to hit everything I had to hit, and I was like,
well, that, and then when they make it where you've got to complete 100% every section of a mission to move on. Like on Jedi Fallen Order, I can be at 80% and still beat the main part of the story and move on. Now, if I want to come back and hit that 100% later, I'll come back and do it later. But don't make me have to sit here for 6 days to do this.
When I beat Spider-Man, typically it's about 75%. There's some side missions I never fucked with.
Yeah, you just skip them.
I didn't find. I'm fine with that. I'm not somebody like, Josh will sit there and beat a game on easy, medium, and hard, 100% each one.
Yeah, just to get the full 100%.
God bless him. If I skate through on medium at about 75%, I'm happy with that. I'm fine.
Yeah,
I'm a casual gamer. I'm not a professional. I
exactly.
want to enjoy it. I don't want to be to the point like there was a couple points in Spider-Man where there's a couple of the chase scenes. I'm not real big on those because my web slinging is okay, but I'm not great. And when you had to keep up with a helicopter,
That's
there were a
tough.
couple times it was like son of a bitch,
Yeah.
you know.
But as hard as some of those things are, you still struggle through them. My biggest thing that I cannot stand in a game is I do not want to play online with rabid fans.
Right.
If we're playing online to play, so if we play online as a game, we're playing together, we're in cohorts, or even if we're going against each other and shooting each other, or whatever, right? That's fine.
No.
But that's us playing with our friends, and I'll trash talk, and you can trash talk back, and I'll still enjoy it. But to get online with somebody who plays it 12 hours a day, and that's all they do for their entire life, and you're the new person, they just come up and shoot you, and then they, start trying to teabag your character or whatever it is on the game. It's like, I don't know you. Why are you
You
talking
know
so
what?
much trash to
I
me?
know what you're saying. It's like we can play with friends and family. You can badmouth my mother, and I'm fine. I will keep playing, and I'll throw a few
Exactly.
shady jokes back. And by now, our viewers and listeners have listened to me enough to know I have a horrible mouth. So I can take as well as I can dish. But I don't want to play with little Jody, who's sitting in his mama's basement, and this is all little Jody does, because I'm gonna feel like I need Thor from Avengers Endgame to get on here and tell him that he's gonna come kick the shit out of him. I want to be like, thanks, Thor. I mean, no, I don't want to do that.
No, and I don't want to be as soon as I spawn a character or whatever and start playing, you kill me immediately. It's like, how am I ever supposed to get any better at all if that's all that happens? And then
The
you
worst
want,
one I played about that was one of the last Transformer games. It might have been War for Cybertron. They were snipers on there if you played online. Like literally, you would spawn and this son of a bitch would have been camped out for 3 days up here. Done. Like, good God. I was playing with
yeah,
Jason. And a few times, like, he was like, dude, does this happen to you every time? I was like, every time. Like, literally, I spawn, I die. I don't even get to transform into jet mode to get the fuck out of there before,
yeah,
they, that.
yeah. I'm the same way. I can't stand that. That's why I don't play a lot of. I will play online, but it's only with my kid or friends. I don't play with anybody else. I don't get into all those. That's why I don't play Fortnite and all that. I don't have the patience for other people online a lot of times. And I'm a patient person, but it's just one of those. It's like I can't do it. Um, yeah. Speaking of that kind of stuff, though, besides just playing online, is there any new games that are coming out that you're looking forward to that you got your eye on or planning to pick up?
Nothing in the immediate, well, Guardians of the Galaxy, y'all. I guess, so let me backtrack. That looks really good. I'm kind of thinking I'm going to pull the trigger on that. I'll probably wait at the first of the year just because with Christmas coming up.
Right.
It gets a little pricey. You got to be selective on things this time of year. But probably right after the first of the year, I'll pick up Guardians of the Galaxy. After that, I don't really. There's nothing until the new Spider-Man drops for me or WWE. Next spring, I'll definitely get the new MLB The Show. I'm kind of a creature of habit. Like, I mean, in spring, I'm going to buy WWE The Show. MLB The Show. When WWE drops, I buy it every year. Madden drops, I buy it every year. So I mean, I'm going to pick those up when they hit the market. But other than those regulars that I'm going to get, Guardians it looks real good, and then the Spider-Man and the Wolverine game or Logan or whatever it's going to be
Yeah.
called. I'll definitely get those there because the studios that put them out, they do a great job.
Yeah.
So
I will probably miss them just because they're PlayStation exclusive, and I'm not planning on buying a PlayStation 5 right now. Just I've already sunk enough into one system. I'm not buying another one at the moment. But I haven't seen anything. Jedi Fallen Order, the second one, is still in production, and whenever they announce it, I'll probably pick it up. Usually for the WWE ones, I like to get those, but I haven't bought one and owned it since 2017, maybe. Usually I wait and see how see how you react to it and how you like it before I decide if I want to. And then,
With the exception of the last one, they've done a great job every year. The last one they put out, I see why they took a year off, because they totally shit the bed with it. It was drizzling
yeah,
shits. It was terrible.
yeah, and
Like, you be playing and someone's face is gone. Like, it was
yeah, see, I never
horrifying.
picked that one up. I heard how bad it was, and I was like, all right, well, I'm not going to get it. But I started to, and I was like, eh. But I just don't see a lot coming out. I kind of want to see Guardians and see how it is, but at the same time, if it's the same as Avengers was, I'll pass. Because
Avengers
Avengers
was
was,
not. It was not good.
I played maybe 30% of the game, and I'm like, right now, if I look on my shelf, what do I want to put in and play? That ain't coming up at all. That's
I
the last
wanted to
spot.
go back and play the seasons with the Maestro, but I don't know, dude. I want to get excited about Midnight Suns, but with the pushbacks that we were talking about with movies, anytime something's pushed back for a large period of time,
What was the
I get
reason?
skeptical.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get real skeptical and like, okay, yeah, I can deal with some delays on some things, but when you start having, we already know it's going back a year. Yeah, there's some substance issues at that point to me.
Yeah, and I'm the same. But again, a lot of times it's word of mouth that gets me hooked on one, or if it's a franchise like Fallen Order that I really like, so I'm gonna pick up the second one regardless. Now, the second one craps out, I'm like, I'm done with these. I'll keep playing the first one, but
Yeah.
probably won't be back. But with that, I think we've kind of reached a portion of the show to do our nerd out questions. So, for anybody who's a new listener, this is where we actually ask each other individual questions that we've come up with. We have no prep time for these as far as knowing what the other person is going to ask. So, we'd like to give honest opinions and answers on these. So, Hassel, you want to go first this week?
I think I went first last time. This year good, bro.
Did you? I can't remember. It's been 2 weeks, so I slept
Yeah,
since
I
then.
believe I went first last time. So,
All
yeah,
right.
I'll get you come wrestling week.
I got you. All right. So, how about this one? I got a couple of options here. I'm going to choose this one. So, what's your guilty pleasure game? The one that you can pick up and play anytime, no matter what, no matter how old it is, that you can just go to.
Oh, that's easy. PlayStation 1, Castlevania Symphony of the Night. I love it. I mean, I can go back to it. You play as IQ card. You're not even a Belmont. Well, you start off as a Belmont, and you get that. That's a great the opening scene with
Yeah,
Belmont and Dracula, where Dracula's like, "What is a man with a miserable little pile of lies?" I mean, that's a great game. That's one I can go to at any time.
interesting. I would not have figured it would have been one that old, but that's pretty interesting. For me, I've got to. It depends on my mood. So if I'm in a bad mood or just like, I want to kill somebody, I will actually turn on. And I said I didn't like a lot of the war games playing online. I don't play this online, but the Rainbow Six Siege
Mm-hmm.
is kind of it's one of those Tom Clancy games. If I'm in a bad mood, I would just turn it on and go find one of those individual missions you could play and see how many can I kill everybody in this mission with the handgun? Can I kill everybody in this mission with just a sniper rifle? Can I kill, how fast can I complete this mission? And I will do that just to pop a cap in somebody because I can't do it in real life, so I got to get my frustration
Yeah.
out somewhere. It used to be I would do that with Destiny and try to get headshots, but I haven't really played Destiny in well over a year now. But on most days, if I'm in a good mood, my go-to is either, I don't have it with the new one, but it used to be Mario Tennis, but now it's NBA Jam, and it has been for probably since Nintendo 64. It's been NBA Jam. It's like, all right, I'm gonna turn on that and just go play a couple of games of ball and really enjoy that because it
There's nothing
doesn't take
like
much.
here. He's on fire. He's
Oh,
heating up.
the
Boom,
best
shakalaka. You gotta love that.
the best part of that game is listening to the announcer because if you're playing and somebody shoots an air ball, dear Rim, I miss you. I really, really miss you. And it just will
Yeah.
crack you up out of nowhere. It's like, really? That's just hateful.
It is one of the more better all-time games, and it holds the test of time regardless of the 32 bits of graphics that Super Nintendo had or whatever it was. I mean, I'm sure someone will correct me out there, but you know.
Oh, it was a great one. So, what is your question this week, sir?
All right. I'll be honest, I'm caught my pants down this week. I thought and tried to think of a really great question. And so here, this is the best I could come up with. if you could get a team of the best gamers ever to create a game, what game would you make a sequel to? Like one game that you truly enjoyed and you felt needed a sequel and didn't get. And it can be something that got multiple sequels, but you feel it needed another.
You know, there's part of me that just wants to pick some of those simple games to play, but I want to see, and even though it's already had sequels, and I guess somebody's already doing it anyway with the new Arkham Knights or the new Arkham game or whatever it is now with Nightwing and Robin and all them and without Batman, but that would probably be the Arkham Knights games. They were my go-to for a long time. I loved all those Batman Arkham games, and just seeing those be redone and even taking it up a notch would just be. And I'm hoping that's what this new one is that's coming out. The one with and I can't remember the name of it now, but it's got Robin, Red Hood, Nightwing, and Batgirl in it, and Batman is I guess killed off.
It's Arkham Knights.
That might be what it is, but that looks spectacular.
Did you not feel like you played too much with the Batmobile in the last one though?
I quit playing the last one because the Batmobile controls sucked so badly, and I got tired of it. So that's that ease of play thing we talked about earlier. The first two. Yeah. I was fine. I mean, even though they were long, I was skulking around and doing stuff, and I felt like, oh, I'm really Batman. Yeah. But I got to the next one. I was like, I get to drive the Batmobile. After about the third driving segment in the game, I'm like, screw this. I quit.
I didn't realize that it was so detrimental to upgrade the Batmobile. Because I'm that guy when I get attribute points, I max my player out as fast as I can. So I'm maxing fucking Batman's ass out where I'm snapping motherfuckers off doing all this judo shit. Then you get in the Batmobile and those bitches going 200 miles an hour running into shit all over the place. And I'm like, nope. And then a boy at work was like, oh yeah, you gotta put your attribute points to the Batmobile first. I'm like, that's a good plan.
Now that I sit here and think about it, another good game that would be a good sequel one, and I know you haven't answered yet, so I'm sorry to steal your time for a minute, but you remember the City of Heroes game? There was a computer-based one. I'd love to see that on a console because I am not a computer gamer. Like, I sit at the work and work computer and work all day for work. We record, which isn't too much of our time or anything. But after a while, I'm tired of sitting in front of the computer. I want to sit in front of the TV. I don't like playing with a keyboard, and I know you can get controllers and stuff for the computer now, but it's like I'd rather just go play at the console. I'd love to see a console version of something like City of Heroes where I can create my own hero, and whether I play online, which would be great with everybody else, but if I want to play the single missions and just build my character up, I'd be fine with an open world City of Heroes type game on there.
And if you want that right there, yeah, I love that game too. There was nothing better than the four of us playing those online. But
oh yeah,
you can get DC Online on PlayStation, and I'm pretty sure you can get it on Xbox as well for free. It's free to play. It's free online. It's free to download. And it's console play. It's pretty fun. I mean, it's very repetitive, but that's what those games are.
Yeah, and that's fine because I don't want to play it all the time. I just want to turn it on and play it occasionally. And I never actually tried DC Online.
It's a fun play.
The first time I looked at it, it was still a cost to play it, and I was like, nah. I was like, I kind of had that with City of Heroes. I don't want to go through it again, but yeah, I haven't tried it. I might have to look into that one.
Give that a spin, Monster. I feel like you'll enjoy that. As for me, hands down, I think I have to go with Force Unleashed. I would like a third part of that.
Oh, that's a great one.
I loved part one. I loved part two. The expansions were amazing on both. And that was one of the only games I will say that I did try to complete as much as possible. And I want to say with Force Unleashed, I did complete it 100%. Force Unleashed 2 was probably around 90-ish, a little better. But yeah, I love that game. The story was amazing. His powers, and being able to find the holocrons where you could, get different colored lightsabers and different lightsabers with different abilities. Like just because you changed the color of the lightsaber, it wasn't the skin. Each one had a different kind of ability where this one was a little more, powerful than this, that, or the other. And I mean, it was great to be able to force pull down, Imperial shuttle down and just like, I mean, that was, and I loved it. That was a funny. That's one of the ones that I want to go back and replay. And that's why I was so bummed out that I couldn't play that and Castlevania from PlayStation 3 on the new PlayStation. Because I was like,
Yeah.
really thinking I'd be able to go back and replay those games because they were such a fun go around. But yeah, I would definitely love to see Star Killer one more time.
That was a good one. I enjoyed that. I kind of forgot about that one because it's been so long since I played it. I did see recently that I guess Nintendo Switch. I want to say it was today. Maybe it was just it might have just been a trailer for it, but I know Knights of the Old Republic, which was one that I really enjoyed back in the day, which was almost I want to say when I played it, it was actually a computer game, and as much as I said I don't like computer, you sat there and played it, but it's actually coming to Nintendo Switch. I think the trailer release for it to come there with the new graphics and stuff was today, or the updated graphics anyway.
Is it exclusive to Switch? I'm not sure.
I don't know. That's where I saw it on. I saw that it was only the article I read was only about Switch. So I don't know if it's exclusive to it or if it's coming to everybody, and they released a trailer today. I'm not sure.
I thought it was multi-platform, but I mean I could be mistaken because they may have changed at some point.
And it may be. I didn't get a chance to read it very much. It was right before we started recording. I saw it and I was like, oh, I'm going to look at this real quick. But I did.
Always worry when something is Nintendo exclusive because you just know it's going to sacrifice on the graphics. Because let's be honest, the GameCube was probably the last semi-realistic graphic Nintendo machine they had.
Yeah.
But Nintendo was right there edging the other systems with graphics right up until after the Cube. Like it's like they got to the Cube, which was very, very underrated system. Very underrated system. Controller was a little, but
it wasn't
the system
ergonomic.
itself. Yeah, the system itself was. I loved it. It was a great concept. It had great graphics, and then afterwards you got the Wii.
Yeah, well, their big thing with the GameCube to try and sell it though was we're making the disc smaller, and
yeah, I didn't care. That disc be this fucking big for all. It can be as big as a record, as long as it's compatible with what I'm playing.
But you had when they made the disc smaller, they actually became more susceptible to damage because if you got a full size CD and I scratch a section of this CD, it might still work. But when I got this and I scratch it, it's most likely going to hit the barcode and the reader.
It encompasses the entire thing, and you're done.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of done, with that, I think that brings today's episode to a close for us. But if you enjoyed this video or any of our other content, please give us a like, subscribe, or comment. It always helps the channel out. And join us the next time as we talk about all things Survivor Series. So until then, live nerdy and game on.